All right, are we live? Let's see. We got audio? Good. Okay. This is take 3. Welcome to Office Hours. This is my live stream series where I answer questions about camera things and being a camera person and being a working creative in general. We usually take questions from Reddit, but if you've got a question, you can drop it in the chat, or you can leave a comment if you're watching this after the fact. And I'll get to it. I'm trying to do these most weeks on Sunday nights. It's, going pretty consistently, I suppose. But if you subscribe and I start getting more subscribers, I'll definitely do them a little more regularly. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for joining us, or in the future, if you're watching this in the future. I hope everything's going well. Anyway, let's get down to business and let's get some questions going, because I have already spent the last 15 minutes doing this, and I realized I got into it and the microphone died like 2 minutes in, and I was like, wow. So, and then it just wouldn't, the webcam wouldn't connect. Aggravating. So I had to restart everything. It was a whole thing. But we're here now. So let's answer some questions, provide some value. Let's see. There's a lot of tips and tricks to organize footage. Dumbest client you've ever had. Here's some good questions today. All right. What should I charge for a sports doc? High school basketball team, players looking for a seasoned doc with game highlights, pre- and post-game footage, and interviews, practices, the whole story. Be my first time doing a documentary, but not my first time doing sports videography. Rough ballpark price? Man, like $40,000? Are you kidding me? A season-long documentary with game highlights, pre- and post-game footage, interviews, practices, all that stuff. I mean, just to get the game highlights, you're going to have to go to most games. Like, if there's an important story that you missed, you don't have the footage of. I mean, if they're already filming everything, you could take some of that stuff, but the footage isn't going to look good. So you're going to need to go to at least a couple games. So you got to think minimum. I don't know how many games basketball players play in a season. 10 or 15 probably, at least, once a week for 3 months, something like that. So you got to think each of those has got to be at least 2 hours. So that's 20 hours right there. And then just going in and logging the footage is another probably half hour to hour for every hour of footage. So you're talking another 10 hours. That's 30 hours right there. That's 30 hours before you interview anybody, draft up any stories. This is a big, humongous project. It would, unless they want a 3-minute if they want all of that, 40 to 50 grand, there's no way you're getting that whole big hour-long 30 for 30 documentary that's interesting and good for less than that amount of effort. You're gonna probably need second shooters. You're gonna need editing teams. You're gonna need an assistant editor at least. Yeah, no, if they just want a 3-minute thing where you go interview a few key players and they already have some footage that they've already identified the in and out points, then they want a 3-minute thing, even that would probably be $2 grand. So I would ask them first, what's your budget? Because unless this is one of those rich prep schools where money is literally no issue and somebody's 50 grand, that's great. I would just pass on this. It's going to be so much work and so much headache. I would just say no. Or say 50 grand, because it's going to cost you at least that much. And you're going to be working for the next 6 months on it. And that's going to be your main action. And then you're probably still going to have to hire assistants. Tips and tricks to organize footage. Who's sneezing down here? Dog's down here sneezing. I don't know if you can hear that. Need tips and tricks. Do you rename clips so they randomly generated? Nope. Just as it is. What do you do with the backup footage? How it drives? I take everything with just I import it and it goes into a year drive, and then it goes date, whatever it was that shot, card gets directly copied in that. And then when I take it into the editing software, I just take all that footage and I dump it on one timeline. I don't use bins. I mean, you could use bins if that's your style. This is just what I do. I just dump it all down, and then I go through, and if it's a good shot, then I elevate it. If it's interviews, I'll put it on another sequence. But we just take all the B-roll. We delete all the B-roll that sucks. Good B-roll shots get moved up one layer. Great B-roll shots get moved up 2 layers, and then go through and do the interviews the same way. And this is I just do sequences. So like first sequence is B-roll, second sequence is the interviews. Third sequence would be the selects. So when I cut interviews, I'll go in, I'll cut, and then I'll raise the quotes I want, the sound bites up 1 track, 2 tracks if it's great. And then on the third sequence, I'll just grab everything that's elevated on tracks 2 and 3, put that in the third sequence, make my kind of rough assembly edit, start a fourth sequence, and that's where the first cut goes. Once I'm done with the first cut, every additional cut goes onto new sequences. At this point, I'll probably start collapsing some sequences because I don't have them all. I don't just have like 20 sequences open. I just have like the B-roll, the pull quotes, and then maybe like the current edit I'm working on. So I just have 3 sequences going at once. And that way, if a client is ever like, oh, you remember the thing you did on like version whatever, because sometimes on stuff, there could be like 10 versions. So if you want to go back to like, the shot in version 4, and then you got to be like, well, what was that? And if you don't have that saved with those different sequences, you kind of just get lost, and then you have to go spend a lot of extra time finding stuff. So that's kind of a lot easier way to organize things. And it's a very tactile way for me because I need to see it. If I don't see it, I have object permanence disorder. If I don't see the clips, I forget they're there. So I just need to have it. I want it all, call it like a puzzle method. It's just all out, and then I'm finding the pieces I need. It might not be the most efficient way, but it's the way I've been doing it for the last like 10 years. So I'm going to keep doing it that way. Oh, what was the dumbest client you ever had? What did they do? The dumbest client I ever had, I won't say who they were, but they were a charity, and they paid me some money to make a fundraiser video for them. And the thing about the charity is they did a lot of stuff. They did a lot of stuff. And originally it was kind of supposed to be like one fundraiser, like, well, this is our organization. This is everything we do. And it was supposed to be like a 2-minute video they could show at like a charity dinner or something, just a nice feel good video, give us your money sort of thing. And what it ended up being is like 10 breakout videos and then 1 main video that they were still planning on showing at the charity dinner, but to encapsulate everything they did with all the stories they wanted to, like, the story has to be in it. And each story was like a minute. It was like a 20-minute edit. And I was like, no one's going to sit through it and watch this. Like, it's 20 minutes long. Like, at dinner, no, you get like 90 seconds of their attention, and then it should be like a speaker or something, and like, give us your money. That's real, but it's what they wanted. So anyway, we go through it, and then eventually I'm like, this is the shortest I can make it. Cause and we're talking like, there's like 15 different stories that they want to tell. And even if we're doing like the shortest, quickest version, which is the least impactful version of any of these stories, each one is like 30 seconds. So like it's 8 to 10 minutes long. So finally I talked them into being like, okay, let's focus on like 1 or 2 key stories and be like, this is what we do. And then have the president kind of just, glom over, like, we do so much more. These are just 2 examples, that kind of shit. And so we ended up, by the end of it, there was 36 revisions. And I wanted to quit. I wanted to just be like, I'm not doing camera stuff ever again. Like, no, thank you. And I will always remember one of the notes I got. So one of the 2 stories we chose was an adoption story. And the note they got back was, can we add some Star Wars graphics to this thing? And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, do you want an X-Wing flying in, blowing up an abortion clinic? Like, what is going? So I don't know. I probably charged them way too little money. And I was just like, here's your shit sandwich. Enjoy. And they loved it. So that was the dumbest, craziest client I ever had. Is it better to sell camera stuff separately or as a bundle on eBay? I don't sell anything on eBay. People feel like people get scammed on there like often enough. Like I know it's not common, and I've bought things on eBay, but I feel like people get scammed on there enough that I wouldn't want to sell anything on eBay. Just would not do it. If I'm selling gear, it's in person. I take a loss when I sell gear a lot of the time, relative to what I could have made. You know, like if I'm buying camera equipment, I would say 60% of the time it ends up being like very ROI positive. Like it makes money for me. Great. And then 40% of the time I buy things and I'm like, oh, this will be great. Like case in point, I have this Rode Video Mic Plus Pro that I almost never use because I don't really use DSLRs to shoot video anymore. So I've used it a couple times. It's come in handy, but like for $300, I definitely have not got my money's worth out of it. So that's, you know, if I went and sold that, I would just sell it. It'd be like $50, whatever. Just get it out the door locally and have it gone. But it's useful every now and then, so I keep it around. So there's your answer. Don't sell stuff on eBay. What should I charge for a sports doc? Did I answer this one? Or did I answer this one when the microphone died? I think I did. More questions. Anyway, to answer that question, it was a long thing. And I was like, probably 40 grand. Because they wanted it like the whole season. This one just says music video idea. Music video idea. I was just listening to music and I started thinking about music videos. Then I thought about, all right, this guy's just like pitching a video to a song. He didn't even say what song it was for. Oh, I love Reddit. Insight on working alongside photographers on wedding shoots. I've done both sides of the coin. I've done video and photo for weddings. So let's see what I can answer here. I'm still quite new to the wedding video game. Get out while you can. Since last year, I've filmed 6 wedding videos. So far, they've been successful, but my biggest concern is that I feel that the photographers at the weddings I filmed have been kind of setting up the shots for me, sometimes in a sense. Yeah, that's fine. So far, during my shoots, I've been telling my client and myself that I'm sort of a fly on the wall and I'm here to capture the natural flow of the day. Good. That's how I do it too. And since I'm not a fan of setting up too many unnatural shots, also good. Do photographers prefer the videographer's help to set up positions, or is it best to let them do their own thing? It's, as a photographer, I want the video people to fuck off, like 100% of the time. Like they're almost always a distraction. They almost always like, nope. Photographer, fuck off. As a videographer, I'm like, hey, guess what? I'm going to get a couple of these shots because almost none of them are going to make the edit. And then I'm going to fuck off. Like, and I'm going to shoot other things. Because it's like, there's a few key moments as a videographer you need to get, especially in like the getting ready sense. And if you're just kind of shooting over the shoulder, like fly on the wall, I think that's more beneficial. That's more what most people want. You can sell the sort of like Hollywood thing, but if you do that, like the couple needs to know there needs to be extra time built into the schedule. And the photographer needs to know like that is your time. Like you need to have a dedicated time that's just for video where like the photographer can go take a break and you can sell it that way. Because it's just so often as a photographer, you know, especially if I was a photographer and they wanted like the Hollywood movie experience, or that's what the videographer wanted to do, you get videographers like walking down the aisle with the gimbal and being like hella distracting, like not even trying to fucking be like discreet about things. And it just got aggravating. So yes, if the photographer is setting stuff up, and you don't like have any like great, awesome moments, great. The photographer's happy. And if you just have like one or two, like, oh, can we just get you spinning her really quick in this nice like dusky sunset? We'll get a wide shot. 9 times out of 10, the photographer's not going to care. And if they're a dick, tell them fuck off because the couple paid you too. So if you need that shot for your edit, get that shot. But if you don't have any ideas and you just want to shoot from behind the photographer and get some motion, great. Some simple things you could do are just talk to the photographer and be like, hey, well, you're doing like the family photos. Do you mind, especially like the big group? There's always that one big group, you know, where it's like everybody in the family, like the cousin has to come early for some fucking reason to be in this one photo. Like just get that as like a, you know, circle-y shot where people are like camera aware, like, oh yeah, they'd be like, oh look, it's cousin Sam. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about wedding videos just because like I feel like in talking to people, like almost nobody watches them. Like even the couple, like they might watch it like once or twice. And I'm like, it's so much money to spend to like, I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure there's some couples that like highly value it, but most of the couples I talk to are just like, people told us to get one. And I'm like, did the people who told you to get one ever watch theirs? Like ask them that question. And so I feel like a lot of times I've probably talked myself out of jobs. People are like, do you want to come film a wedding? And I'd be like, not really. Like, do you want to watch yourself getting married? They're like, not really. I'm like, then save some money. Weddings are gross. I mean, after I've done like 200 of them, you start to see how it's like this big production. And like, I feel like it's at least 50-50 where like the wedding is not for anybody and either of the two people getting married. It's like expectations thrust upon them by their family. And like a lot of it is not what they would have actually wanted had they had the choice. Like my advice to anyone getting married is like, go to the courthouse, fill out the paperwork, you know, get married in someone's backyard, then have a party. And, you know, the party with like an open bar that costs like $5,000 and bring some barbecue, you know, do it that way. Save yourself a lot of money, a lot of headache. Yeah, that's my thoughts on wedding. Maybe I'm jaded from doing like 200 of them. You know, I've been to some great weddings and they were fun where like the couple definitely wanted to be there, but like know why you're doing it. Like know that the wedding is for you and then tell everyone to fuck off. It's your wedding. This is what I want. And if you don't have the funds for that, then, you know, that's a whole other conversation. Well, let's not go there. It's a whole big sidetrack. What resources did you use to learn videography as a beginner? Doing it a lot was a big part of it. I mean, the big thing was like my friends who were already doing video. Like I got into doing video because I started working on this music video project called Love Drunk, where we filmed live music videos, where it's like a music video that's done in one take, where like the band plays and we film that. And it wasn't always one take, you know, you do multiple takes, but all of the footage came from one individual take. And so, I mean, I probably did like 100 some of those, and I learned a lot from that. And then I learned a lot from just asking my friends. And there's so much content on YouTube about it that didn't exist when I was starting. Like, yeah. Ooh, here's a good one. FX6 versus FS7 Mark I. Question is pretty simple. Where I live, a used FS7 is 5K and the FX6 is 8K plus tax. Both shoot high bit rate. Main difference is no FS7. Basically, does it make sense to get the FX6? Yes, if you can get it. I'm going to comment to this guy real quick. Yes, it makes sense if you can get it. Good luck getting one, though. They are crazy back ordered. They're like the most back ordered thing in the camera world right now. Everybody wants one. They're great cameras. I got one, luckily, because I talked to the guy I know who works at the local camera store. He talked to a Sony rep. He was able to get one, and that was for me. Thanks, Aaron. And this is what we're shooting on now. It looks pretty good. I like it. The FS7, still a great camera. I still use it from time to time, and it's good. It's just this is so much better. This is like an FS7, but it's smaller form factor. The low light performance is better, and the regular light performance is everything. It's like an FS7, but just way better. So get this one if you can. And the difference between 5K and 8K, like that's nothing. That's for $3,000. Like this FX6 will probably last. It'll probably be a good working camera for 5 to 10 years, as long as because I got the FS7 in 2014, and it's still a good working camera today. So there's your answer there. Buy the newer one. It'll last longer. You know, 3K over 5 years is nothing. Camera overheating while filming a wedding. Solutions? ? Yesterday in the middle of a wedding ceremony, my Sony a7S III overheated and shut off. Luckily, I always have 2 cameras filming for weddings. Do you have any tricks or tips to avoid? Buy a video camera. That's if you're filming the whole ceremony, buy or rent a video camera. Like the DSLR is just going to cause you headache and trauma and pain. Like a GH5 might be like a good B option, but like you need a video camera if you want to record anything longer than like 20 minutes. Like it's just going to make your life so much easier. Like XLR inputs, you just plug right in. It's great. Just at least one, put it in the back, you know, have it plugged into the soundboard. Then you have your safety. and then you could shoot, your shots, and you could sync them with like a tentacle sync, or there's a lot of ways you could sync the audio. But what matters is that you should get a video camera, even if it's an old one, like a FS7 Mark I. Also, if you have a big video camera, people are really impressed, and they're like, wow. Sometimes it's called show business. You got to show them the business. I learned that quote from a guy named Mark Hoffman. He's a great sound guy and drone operator. If you're ever in Omaha and you need a sound guy or drone operator, Mark Hoffman. He's your man. Let's find more questions. Tripod for Rode Wireless Go and iPhone? What? How do I set this up? Been searching for days. I don't know if I have one. They have these metal. Oh, I think 3. It was down there. Oh, I put it way over there. Anyway, they have these metal like C-clamp things that have cold juice. So if you go on Amazon, you look for like metal. That's so unhelpful. I'm sorry, but they do exist. You could also get a camera cage for your phone, which is probably overkill, but it is an option. So let's find some more questions. This says, oh man, I had a good question. I lost it. Best gear to mount cameras from the ceilings. I do a 3-camera interview podcast shoot with Blackmagic Pros, and since it is a tight studio space, I want a solution to hang the camera from the ceiling rather than tripping over tripods. The issue I'm having is that the hardware I find is not sturdy enough, long enough, articulate enough. I don't want to build custom because I wouldn't get paid for it. So I'm looking for off-the-shelf systems that can hold 9 pounds and hang down between 3 and 4 feet. I would install a bar and clamp to it, but cannot find the right magic arm for my specs. Thinking about $500,000. Okay. So it sounds like this guy wants this thing and they're not paying him to do it. So tell them they don't get it and they have to trip over tripods. Ta-da, done. Or shoot the whole thing with one wide camera and pan and scan. It's another option. You could use GoPros for ISO shots, and then just the Blackmagic as the wide shot. Like, you don't have to get that fancy with it. Other than that, go to the Home Depot and get some like 1/4 or 1/2 inch pipe and just screw it into the wall. Find the ceiling stud things, whatever they're called, and put holes in their ceiling until they figure it out. Because if they don't want to pay you for it, then fuck them. That's what I would say. Their problem. And they can fix the holes after they're done with their podcast. Podcasts are stupid. Don't get me started about podcasts. And this is kind of like a podcast, but I don't know. There's so many people that have podcasts, and I'm just like, who wants, like, a podcast like 3 hours long? Who wants to listen to someone talk for 3 hours and not be able to like talk back? Like, ugh. I was thinking about that, of like looking at podcasts that are 3 hours long. I'm like, do the guests of a 3 hour long podcast even want to be on there for 3 hours? Like, I would rather slam my hand in a car door than be on any podcast for 3 hours. I don't care who is the host. And if someone was like, do you want to be on this podcast with this person, or do you want to slam your hand in a car door? I'm like, car door, please. Every time. Doesn't matter who it is. Feel free to comment who you think I would disagree with that, because I don't want to talk to anybody for 3 hours. That sounds awful. Turning house lights off. I typically would turn off house lights because they cause ugly color mixing, true, and weird shadows, also true. And then the environment ends up looking a bit darker. It's my only solution to add another light to throw in the backdrop. Yep. You could also, that's it. That's really the best solution, is to have a backlight, or you could just lean into the dramatic thing, or you can shoot next to a window and use the window light. And yeah, do that. Or you can get color matching lights. You can get practicals that you put in. You can get different bulbs that you just put into the lights that are in the room. You can flag off anything over top, so that way you can get rid of the ugly shadows. There's a lot of ways to play that, but yeah, the best way to do it is going to be to pretend the room has no lighting and light it yourself. So buy some extra lights. That's my advice. More questions. Oh, DaVinci or Adobe? Which is best for video editing? I use Adobe because I'm a photographer and I need Lightroom, so I'm paying for it anyway. Ta-da! A lot of people seem to like DaVinci though. How to apply for a job as a videographer at a production company? I'm about to come out of film school and consider working for a production company. My question is, since 99% of production companies don't advertise jobs on their website or LinkedIn, is it even possible to get a job at an already established company? Yes. If you were to cold email them your CV and portfolio, how would you phrase the position you're applying for? You wouldn't. 99% of the time, the production company is going to hire their friends. Like, they're already networked. If they have the budget to bring on someone to hold the camera, which is the least important job, everybody at that production company can fucking hold the camera. Like, if you want in on a production company, you're going to have to work your way in as a PA or as an assistant editor or, you know, someone doing the grunt work, and then become endeared to them, and maybe they give you a chance. But the better thing to do is just to go in for business for yourself. That's going to be it. That's going to be your best bet. And network. It's just like no one needs a videographer. That's, I mean, in the realm of production companies, a production company that already exists, they are not short videographers by the people that want to hold the camera and do the shooting. That's like everybody. Like, what they need are editors, and what they need are people that know the business end of things, and what they need are people that know how to talk to clients. Those are the things in short supply. So if you want to be employed, get good at those three things, or go do your own thing as a camera holding person, which is what I did. And it seems to work pretty well. Stress and finding consistency. I am still a student and I do video and photo work. I'm still trying to get experience in all aspects of video work before I necessarily niche down, but I don't have consistent work, and it's really stressful. My goal is to start my own production business, digital agency, but I just feel stuck. Yep. I find myself focusing more on the money than the passion. Yep. Because I never know what I'm going to get paid next and have work. I would love to approach clients about retainers, monthly plans, which would help me with some consistency. Any advice on doing this? Make stuff, show people. If the stuff you're making is good enough, the people you show will want to hire you. So that's kind of like the quick version, you know, make stuff, show people, get feedback, make better stuff, and that just exists on the loop. And so when you say like you want to get experience, but you don't have a lot of work coming in, make the work yourself. For the longest time, I think one of my best ideas that I haven't done yet is to just make homework assignments for people. Like, hey, you're getting started in photo or video. Like, here's some homework you can do because you don't have clients. I think a lot of people forget that, like, you could take your camera and you could just go shoot stuff. You can go pretend you have a client, pretend the city is your client. The city you live in is your client, and you're making a video promoting the city. What would you do? Boom, there you go. I forget what that's called. Why can't I think of what that's called? I'm blanking on it. Spec work. It's called spec work. Make some spec stuff. So that's A. And then if you have that built out, like you're already planning to do that, you drop those spec projects from the schedule as people hire you. Now, as far as like the money thing, if you're a student, it's going to take a while. It probably took me 4 years before I was like making like enough money to like barely survive. And that was because I was subsidized greatly by parents who were very supportive. Thank you, mom and dad. And a roommate who was like paying most of our bills. Sorry, Chris, I probably owe you a lot of money. But that was really, and then finding like 1 or 2 anchor clients that hire you regularly, you know, and that was like, for me, it's like a church that I still work at, and an agency that I still work a lot with. And then you just get started as like, you're not going to start as the camera person, the director, the DP, any of that stuff. You're going to start as a PA, you know, and like, that's, I think a lot of people want to skip to this top step. And that was also a thing, like when I first started, and I empathize with you. You want to get there quick, and you want to be like, this is what I'm good at. I can do better than these fuckers. And the answer is probably not. Like, I probably still can't do it, but like, whatever. Yeah, I mean, you got to pay your dues. Like, is that, or you have to like focus primarily on learning how to sell, you know, and those are 2 different skills, like being a camera guy and being a salesperson. So you got to pick one or the other. well, you don't have to pick one or the other, but you do, if you want to go it yourself and you want to be the camera guy from the start, you do got to sell yourself. That's what I meant to say. Okay, let's find more questions. Software to edit instantly. Is there a way I can film with my camera plugged into my laptop and have my footage directly import into Final Cut Pro or Premiere so I can have someone edit instantly? You could live stream. So you could, see what you would need is like a capture card. How would you do this? You would need a capture card, and then you need like OBS, like it's a free software. And then you could record through OBS. It wouldn't probably be the best quality, but it would be an option. The question is, why would you want to edit instantly, I guess, is the first question. Like, what is so important that it can't be delayed by like an hour or two? That's my question. I mean, I guess, what are you filming that's so important that, like, if they didn't see it live, they wouldn't care to watch it at all. Like, you know what I mean? There's almost nothing. Like, just take some time. It'll be fine. Tell people to chill out. Like, in the world where everything is instant, like, don't lean into that. Making a website as a video producer and editor. I've always balanced my work in video as both a producer and editor in some gigs. These days, I see more people looking for video producers who sort of do both. Yep, because they're cheap. I've always struggled with how to show this on my website. Is this clunky blend of big production shoots I've produced? Yeah. And videos I've edited? Yeah. And it just seems so confusing for clients to look at. What are your solutions when making your sites? I don't exactly want to pigeonhole myself. The best answer I would say is do a blog. Don't have just like a website. Like, what I did was, like, I had a blog, and the best way to do that is, like, every project you work on, post the project and be like, this is what I did. And then have like a separate page that's like about you, and then have a separate page about hiring you and your work process. That's what I would do, which is what I need to do. I need to update my website. I haven't updated it. I haven't even posted on it in like 2.5 years. So I need to get on that. I think it was like January 2020. Oops. Then COVID happened. And I was like, websites. And I was like, that was my COVID project. I didn't even do it. I had a lot of COVID projects. Some of them turned out okay. Are GoPro cameras worth it, or are there better action cameras? Yeah, GoPros are worth it, I would say. I use GoPro 6s when I film hockey, when I film myself playing hockey, and then I wear a GoPro 8 on my helmet sometimes. And it looks pretty good. No complaints. If you need like specific shots like that, or you want to, like, they're great for like time lapses. They're good for a lot of things. They're definitely you can definitely get your ROI out of them, and they're good for 2-3 years probably before it's worth upgrading to the next one. Speaking of, the new one should be coming out next month, and I'll probably upgrade because I'm a sucker for those. And I've probably owned like 10 GoPros now. They're worth it. They're great. I love them. A lot of fun. Is the footage amazing? No. Does it cut well enough? Is it very handy when you need it? Yeah, definitely. And it's fun. They're fun to do. You can do all kinds of weird, stupid, creative bullshit with it. So, highly recommend. Oh, we're at 33 minutes. Let me see if we can find one more question. Maybe I'll have so much editing to do. I'm so behind. That's why I didn't do a live stream last week. Client is late on payment, not responding. I see on social media he's been in the hospital with his mom. Client is a fairly big YouTuber, 1 million subs, and is 2 weeks late on payment. He hasn't responded to me. I've reached out multiple times to no avail. He has always been good about paying on time, but he can be kind of flaky sometimes and hard to reach. He shares a lot of his personal life. Morning. He had to rush to the hospital for his mother. Now, the last thing I want to do is demand money from someone going through something. But what do I do here? I need the money. He hasn't been responding, and we're on contract. Help. This client is still open to some of the friendship, so it's hard for me to treat it. I mean, I think the answer to that question is like, there's extenuating circumstances. If they're usually good about paying you, it's kind of you who got in trouble by like needing that cash flow. Like, you gotta have, in this business, if I can put one thing in your ear that sticks with you more than any other, is that this business is so much feast, famine. Even if you get those anchor clients that you can rely on for X amount of work every month, like, things happen, you lose clients. They don't need your services anymore. They hire someone in-house. There's a lot of reasons you could lose a client. So don't let any one client be more than like 40% of your income. Like that's just dangerous, because if you lose that one client for whatever reason, this guy's a YouTuber, and if YouTubers burn out all the time, like that's losing proposition. And if you do that, then B becomes especially more important, is that have cash on hand reserves for like 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Like if another COVID happens and you can't work for a year, like then what? You think about that. So that's my advice. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something out of this. I'm trying to do them most Sundays in the afternoon, evening. I don't know. I'm not very consistent with it, but I'm being honest with you because I think transparency is important. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you're doing well. If not, well, I hope that turns around for you here real soon. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.